The school-to-prison pipeline is an issue that our local Athens community is currently facing. The school-to-prison pipeline has policies and practices that are directly and indirectly pushing students of color out of school and onto a pathway to prison. Studies show that children who receive out-of-school punishments are more likely to drop out, repeat a grade, or enter the juvenile justice system, according to a report by the Government Accountability Office. According to the Georgia Governor's Office of Student Achievement, Clarke County scored 11 points below the state of Georgia's average in College and Career Ready Performance Index. 46% of the county's students classify as economically disadvantaged. What steps are Clarke County taking to lower these numbers?
Whatever it is that we decide together, that's the disciplinary pathway rather than this piece of paper that says you're suspended for 4 days. The school to prison pipeline, for me, as I understand it, are kind of structures or systems or policies primarily in school that push students out of the school community and then therefore into pathways that would lead to getting involved in the criminal justice. Lower income areas come higher incidence of things like trauma, and so we could spend hours looking at the impact of trauma on the brain. But some of the impacts are, it just changes the way a child learns. And it also changes kind of the normal level for a student, such that if I'm a teacher and I raise my voice at you, if you're not impacted by trauma, you have more tolerance for that. If you come in already with higher levels of trauma, then that can be, just a small thing can be something that sets you off. And so if that happens, then how we respond to that in the school building will say a lot about how that student is, further either ostracized from the school community or embraced. In restorative practices, we teach the circle process to use in advisement, to talk about what's going on in the world. And it's a set process where everybody gets a chance to talk, and then we listen, and that we talk about it as social emotional learning, being able to talk in a respectful way. If we don't take the time to understand why did that happen and what can we do to fix it, then we're just putting band-aids in creating that school to prison pipeline.
Maria, an early childhood education major, has spent the past 2 years observing and student teaching at various elementary schools around Athens. She believes that the restorative justice strategy that some schools are trying is the future and wants to implement it in her own classroom.
As much as possible, because a lot of times when students get in trouble and you reach out to administration, that leads them to being an ISS or whatever version of ISS that school might have, and that takes them away from the learning, their learning. If you are a younger teacher and you're more familiar with this stuff, because this is being taught, in courses in school, this was never taught 20, 30 years ago. This is just a new thing that's just now starting to be implemented. I mean, there's a lot of research behind it, but nothing has been really implemented. So the younger you are, I think the more open you are to these types of things.
The school-to-prison pipeline is an issue for the Clarke County schools and will be for a long time. The new mediation program addresses the issue and is a start for the community, a start towards a better path for the youth that will help make up our future.